Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon, everyone who have to do a session in English, despite we're all here Brazilians in Brazil and online, but we may have some colleagues from other contexts, so they ask us to speak English. So we are here for a plenary session for a fantastic paper written by Tassiane Aparecida dos Santos, Iago França Lopes, and Nicholas McKeegan. And we welcome you all here in the physical room at USP. We have 4 participants and Iago as co-author and me. And we have at the online session almost 18 participants, which is a good number for an online virtual session at the conference. So we will have the presentation from Tassiane online, and after that, I will give Tassiane 15 minutes, but if you need a few more minutes, Tassiane, we will allow you a few more. And then I will present my comments and suggestions to the paper. And later we will open to the audience. I'll try to read the chat comments after my presentation and open questions for people here in the room. Okay, so Tassiane, please feel free to start the presentation. Okay, I think everything is good to go now. You may go, Tassiane. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professora Fernanda. My name is Tassiane Aparecida dos Santos. I'm from University of São Paulo, and my co-authors are Iago and Professor Nicholas McKeegan. We are working in this project, and this is one of our article that result from this project, which is called "Who Are You? The Psychic Effect of Silence, Diversity, Inclusion, and Representativeness." So discussing a little bit about diversity, inclusion, and representativeness, we have in the previous literature that these are moral values that our society considered to be within us, and representativeness has been claimed by many social movements, international agents, and academics as well, as a way to overcome exclusion, patriarchy, heteronormativity, and many other forms of organizing society. So symbolically, but when we have the diversity, inclusion, and representativeness, sometimes we have, when we include all these people in organizations and in groups, we have some effect that we don't expect actually. So the literature have pointed out that we have silence and symbolic violence as a result from when different persons, diversity persons is included within organizations. And this is expected by social norm of recognition, which I will gonna explain later, using the concept of Butler, who discussed the idea of living spaces. So as we can see in the images, we can have these diverse persons included in the organizations, but sometimes they don't have a voice, or if they have a voice, they don't have a living spaces, which means they are not legitimized within the organizations. So Judith Butler claims that without a space, a place within the frame of recognition, which means the social norms of that organization, the subject will not be able to appropriate the moral norms. And in this case, they will be recursively silenced and ignored by other subjects who fit within the social norms of recognition. And when this happens, so when we, I will show you a picture of this theoretical framework, but just to understand when this kind of symbolic violence and silence happen, the psychic power, a model of power is inaugurated, which is called psychic power by Judith Butler. And she says that this is a lack of space that individuals that reshapes the individual's psychic, turning the individuals violently against himself. So the individuals started to experience this kind of inclusion and diversity in a violently manner. So which means that this silence operates as a mode of psychic power. This is a little bit theoretically, but we used a specific context to study how the diversity can be experienced violently by diversity in individuals. And in our case, we analyzed how silence was constructed as a way of subjection and subjectivity of a professor in a Brazilian accounting academy, in claiming that diversity as inclusion and representativeness may become a mode of subjection within organizations. So our contexts are a Brazilian university, but specifically we are looking to professor experiences. The methodological process was, well, we chose a collective biography to explore, we call here Miguel's experience and memories, and it is a kind of deconstructivity. It's actually is a line of post-structuralist research where we use the Miguel's experiences and memories, and collectively with this just unpackaged all these memories to construct this process of being and becoming. So we have the memory holder, which is Miguel, and plus 2 memory allies that in around 6 meetings, we discussed the Miguel's reading experiences and try to deconstruct many events that Miguel's narrated in these reading memories. To analyze all these memories, the process was totally inductively, and the researchers just after the process was made, we just designed theoretical framework based on some constructs from Butler. So in this process, 3 main constructs emerged, which was silence and lack of recognition, melancholy, and internalizing of constituted laws, and the psychic power as a mode of subjectivity and subjection. So this is the framework of analysis that we constructed based on these ideas of Butler that I present to you. So the first part, we try to analyze the silence. And in this case, we have here the scene of address where the subjects were included and the others have a social space to interact. So the diversity and inclusion subjects is living with the others. So we have a question. If there's a living space to these included subjects to appropriate these moral norms, then we can say that they were recognized and legitimized by the others. And then they find a living space within this organization. But if they don't have this living space, so the effect of this is the specific power, which means that the lack of recognition we brings to this subject face silence and absence as a result of non-conformity with the social norms of recognition. And by not being able to feel recognizable, the subject we faced melancholy, which is based on Butler's discussion, a form of power that make the subject that actually have 2 effects. First of all, the melancholy makes the subject becomes a different person. So by feeling not recognizable, not legitimized by the context, he started to try different paths just to feel like that. And the subjection process. In the paper, we have different finds and acceptors by Miguel's experiences, but just in these lines, I decided to put some of them to show it to you. So the first part is the scene of Andres, that part of the silence faced by Miguel's experiences. We have some memories which he have said. The receptivity of the students towards me was not high. So he's in this case, he was narrating the experience of him as a professor, and he said that students barely listened to me. I heard it much louder in parallel in some classes. The first day was a real party. I particularly was not expecting to enter the classroom that day because I had not yet been called to take the position officially. So on that day, I was doing a hard test called Holter, and because of that I was wearing clothes not so appropriate for the classroom. So the professor feel not belonging to that place in this part. But the experience shared during the semesters start to becoming a little bit harder. And for example, he said when he had some peers exchanges, and that after he's approved as a professor, we actually here we're talking about Brazilian public university. So after he's approved, and he was not presented in the department. Things just happened like a hurricane, that I often observe these passages as a silent passage. Sometimes I even forget that I worked as a professor in this institution. When my turn came, I was not received. My black and gray body was not received. This structure didn't receive me because my body was not designed to be there. So these two first part just explain how he experienced this silence within the exchange with students and peers. But we have also some parts that explain how the melancholy operates as a kind of psychic power. So he said, as much as had resources and arguments to question ever commission's decision, I was instructed not to mess with it. I was told to be quiet. I just remember sitting in my advisor's room chair and just need to look for arguments to justify and digest everything I was experiencing. And in other part, he said, all the lines of this professor who replaced me were killing me little by little, because when I realized that the problem was me. So he started to feel that he was the problem, and the psychic power, the operation of this power is exactly like that. So the individuals started to be open, silenced by the others, and so he experienced that as he was the problem, and he need to be changed. So melancholy becomes guilty, self-blame, and self-betterment. And in other parts, it's just say, I even doubt myself in terms of deserving to be there. These situations make me question where I want to work as a professor in terms of my career and the possibilities it allow me to have. And he said, I mean, I didn't realize that I was saying was credible, when I developed a line of reason, or when I even taught them how to do something, I came to question myself if I was saying the right thing. So during the classroom, he was doubting himself and even what he was explaining to the students. The feeling is that he doesn't deserve to be there. So I'd like to say thank you. And here's my contact, my LinkedIn and email if you want to have more questions. I try to summarize it, but I know it's a little bit very.
Thank you a lot, Tassiane.
Okay.
It is hard to present a deep and profound paper like this one with so deep feeling and emotions.
Okay.
So, many thanks for your presentation. And you got exactly 15 minutes. I think you did a previous rehearsal. It was a great presentation. Thank you. Let me share my screen. I think I need to debate the paper. I was invited to do so. So it is a hard position that I'm in here, because I have a deep respect for the work that you, Tassiane, Iago, and Nick have done. So it is hard for me to be here as someone to make comments on a paper that is built on people's experiences and feelings. So thank you for allowing me to access your generous report. It is very generous of you and Tassiane and me to share these memories and how you, as allies, got back to them and discussed them. So I feel I'm entering a room that is already with people with several things, and someone asked me to do something specific, to criticize a paper. And it's hard because I'm not criticizing the feelings and the experiences and the emotions, but the scientific structured paper in a field. So I'm reading, I read the paper guided by respect, a deep respect for the work that you have done, the experiences you have lived, and the feelings that you have expressed in the text. So I ask your permission to enter this universe and apologize in advance for possible discomforts that my words may generate in both of you. And it's difficult because we are debating possible technical parts that everyone will ask on a paper as a reviewer for a journal. And we are anticipating it on a conference. We are physically in contact or virtually in contact. And it does not allow me for a blind peer review, and not even you. So we are here face to face discussing ideas that are deep and profound and touch your feelings, and also myself that is I'm entering here. So this is not so easy, but let's try to do it together here. And I had some difficulties in analytical terms to put in suspension the episodes and observing them and trying to connect myself with them and my own self, my own experiences, trying to open those boxes and connecting our processes and situations that we lived, trying to expose trajectories and worldviews, different worldviews regarding the topics, the relevant topics you are bringing. So these were my initial thoughts that I would like to share before entering the room with you guys. The study overview. How did I see the paper as a whole? So you have some assumptions that in the scholarly field, queer subjects experience diversity representativeness policies in a way that is silencing as consequence of heteronormativity and patriarchy that threaten real diversity and inclusion in daily life, on a daily basis. So the study main objective is based on Butler's concepts of melancholy, subjectivity, and subjection. The study analyzes how silence was constructed as a major subjection and subjectivity of an accounting professor. And the method is a collective biography to reconstruct accounts from Miguel's experiences as an accounting professor in a public university in Brazil. As results, we have the discussion around heteronormativity in subtle and direct forms threatening real scholarly diversity and inclusion, and also silence and absence acting as mode of psych power that produces and submits the scholar, Miguel, by shaping his being and psychic violently. So it's a very insightful paper, very responsive paper, and profound paper. My overview is that it is a good study on silencing melancholia and internalization of guilt. And it deals with the constitution of the inner world based on guilty consciences and turns how the subject turns the aggression against himself in the name of being accepted in the room, in the situation, by heteronormal patterns, while he's chasing for love and acceptance in a world he's entering. He wants to be accepted. He wants to be there to connect with people, and people denies by silencing, by not connecting, by not laughing about, or laughing in a wrong way and not connecting with him. So I think the study has a great potential because it contributes to performative and transformative research practices, and also to several fronts of queer accounting research and also interpretive accounting research. We can also use it not for queering bodies, but also abnormal bodies, but also different situations in which we need to reflect on selves in silencing situations. That happens in academia, including between mainstream scholars, heteronormal scholars. So it is quite intriguing and contributive, what you are pursuing in this paper. In terms of thematic and theoretical choices, I see it positively how you criticizes the representativeness policy, saying that, okay, it should be to guarantee inclusion, but it perpetuates violence. You include the person, but in a way that perpetuates violence. So what I see in the introduction, maybe you can reinforce the argument by articulating the literature with the idea of management fashion. Abrahamson and other authors from the 1990s have written about management fashion. And also, I think you may connect the dangers of representativeness with tokenism. Tokenism is highly debated nowadays and presents several dangers to inclusive and diversity policies. You made an inspiring synthesis of Butler's concept. I've learned a lot with the paper, a lot. You don't know how I stopped and I kept myself thinking of me and silencing situations that I have lived in different spaces. I'm not a queer, although I don't present myself as a queer, I don't understand myself as a queer, but I'm a woman, as someone has said before, a coffish woman in a management and accounting white academia. So I read the theoretical part very deeply, and I see that it goes against the recent trend to explore queer experiences without any theory or with superficially threatening dealing with complex authors. People are doing this nowadays, and I think that you try to not do this. You try to go against this movement and try to connect and rethink experiences. It's really good. But there are some aspects I would highlight for you to strengthen in the theoretical part. The first one is to have some cautious in using the word other, because other, as Simone de Beauvoir says, has a space in this literature regarding the women as being the other of the man, as an ontological sense of being and security in the world, and also the intersectional literature as the Black women as the other of the other. So I think that sometimes you use other in a very loose way, and so you have to make a careful reading and try to avoid this minor mistakes. And also I would maybe connect the Butlerian concepts of melancholia and suffering and silencing with part of the sociology of emotions. that defines what is shame, what is guilt, what is empathy, and try to bring in some of these definitions to better subsidize your theoretical part. On thematic and theoretical choices, again, I see that you did a good review on accounting and gender, accounting and diversity, but there are some papers you may include, maybe Egan 2018, because McKeegan discusses in 2018. It is a comment on Egan, and you should bring Egan to the debate. And sometimes you just are restricted to a specific CPA volume number, 2016, and sometimes I have suggested some papers in my presentation that you could add to the discussion, and also to the literature on violence. You are citing a paper on violence and gender that I have written with Sandra and Sherry Lehman. This paper also includes Silvia Nova, but you're working with a version from Enampad 2020. This paper has a better version on Academy of Management Proceedings 2021. And this year is submitted again to Enampad without me, because I already had 3 submissions, but it is evolving. The paper is evolving. Maybe you could articulate with the latest version. But why I'm talking about this paper, because we try to connect the discussion of violence with macrostructural terms. And your paper is focusing on microdynamics, on psychic effect, psychic power. And I'm not saying that you cannot connect with our paper on violence and silence and gender, but maybe you could try to connect better the micro and macro dynamic in your own paper, Tassiani. How some part of these memories are connected to structural terms that probably Miguel doesn't even connect directly, but subconsciously those items, those situations, those cultural terms are there within him, and he doesn't even realize. And maybe the collective construction may help him to articulate this macrostructural dimensions of violence in his micro experiences on a daily basis. So I think that it is a way, maybe you could bring in some authors that can articulate heteronormative violence with embodiment too in the discussion part. And the structure of the literature review, we could be more presenting the text in more convivial terms, as Yves Gendron says. You can end with a paragraph explaining in a very simple way what you are trying to do and connecting with the next part. This is a minor suggestion, okay? In terms of methodology, is quite new to work with collective biography, but we also have other studies in accounting working with biography. So I suggest you take Baker and Brennis 2020, also Haynes 2006, 2010, Teresa Hammond several papers, Silvia Nova, Sandra Silva 2018, and Homero Júnior, both at SCG, the journal, and Casanova 2021 at Ampiconte. It's also autoethnographic, biographic reading and presenting of the self at the scholarly field. I think that you could articulate it's better connected in this micro dynamics of the scholarly experience. And I think that you should also explain why collective biography is not oral history or narrative research. Why this option? Okay, I think it is important for you to cut it and explain this choice, methodological choice. What I see is that what I would suggest you to include to justify the biographical study, the collective biographical study, is to connect with the idea of transformativeness to the researcher. Who are involved? How this research changed yourselves while doing the collective biography? what were the field practices and how could you change these dynamics in classroom with students and peers, and suggesting changes in the field. So this is something you could better articulate in the methodological session or in the final remarks of the paper to briefly explain this because it is a contribution from the paper. In terms of operationalization, I think it would be better for you to explain that the idea of deconstruction and collective reconstruction of memories, what epistemically it implies, and how it is different from oral history or a narrative analysis. And it is connected to the self and the transformation of the self, and digging inside the person. And I think it is important for you to better articulate it in the text. And also explain why 3 meetings in 1 per year is enough to build it together. I don't think it is. Maybe you have done something more than that. Maybe you 2 and 3 meetings were with Nick, but you 2 had many others. Maybe you could explain it better. And how this self-reflexivity and meaningful coherence happened during this process between you, the 3 of you or 2 of you. And also what I think it would be a great contribution from the paper is to, probably you don't have time due to the limited number of words or pages, is to articulate a pedagogical contribution in methodological terms. Organize it in steps, in procedures and ideas, a little bit functionalist at the end, summarizing what the method is, to help others to follow the same path. In terms of the unfolding from the methodological to the analytical part and the results, of course, I'm not going to enter the memories of Miguel and the situations, but how I was thinking of these experiences and what could be transformed and rewritten. I had some ideas for you to think regarding the analysis. So I was wondering, I wanted to know Miguel's better. For a biography, there was too few about Miguel. I only know that Miguel is a gender, a black gay man in a public university being challenged by white students in a specific city from the south of Brazil. But I wanted to know more about him. Which family he was born in, his mother, his father, what he lived, the experiences in his life that made him to become wanting to become a professor, to be a scholar in the accounting field. So I would like to know a little bit more in this biography about Miguel, not only the memories as something disconnected from the context and the living being that we are discussing the memories. Another thing that maybe you could think of another paper if you would like to, but we are talking about the co-construction of the memories. So I would like to know, maybe you could present it in terms of a dialogue between the 3 of you. One is explaining, one is presenting a comment, a challenge, and he has to rethink of the memory. Maybe if you put it in a dialogue format, would be better for us to explain the tensions between the 3 of you in building collectively the memories. I know that it's hard from now to look back 3 years ago and try to recollect the lines that you have said to each other. But I think that it would be good to see about the tensions between the memory allies. What have emerged during the process and influencing this co-construction. So how Tassiani and Iago and Makigo influenced each other in changing the way you are writing about these experiences and the episodes, how the episode from one has impacted the other, and this other is rethinking his world and trying to influence, why don't you see in a different way? I don't know if he did that. I would like to know a little bit more of this process. So I missed a longitudinal perspective. because when I see some experiences, I see myself in them, but from my perspective, what I lived. And sometimes when I recollect episodes from 20 years ago and what I am today, this longitudinal perspective helps me to understand silencing, understand the strategies I went through to survive it. So I think that maybe you could add a little bit more of this longitudinal perspective from Miguel's situations and traumas and problems he has faced in his life. And also I see that the students in the scene of address are pictured as the same, as if they all were the same and think about the world the same way. There was not a Black student in the classroom. There was not a gay student in the classroom. Were they silenced also by the colleagues while in the scene? Were the Miguel only the silenced one only? Or the dynamic has people that would like to engage with him but could not, although they will be excluded too. I think that these classroom tensions could be explored. And reconnecting with macro dimensions, I don't know how long have I talked so far, maybe a lot. But what I think, going back to the macro dimensions in memories, I think that the discussion, Tassiani and Iago, could have a little bit more about the geo-body politics and the scene of address. In terms of, he's in Brazil, which city? Is it Curitiba? Is it São Paulo? Is it Rio de Janeiro? The classroom is different. The cultural differences between these three cities are completely, they mark the way we interact in classroom. And then Recife too, isn't it? So we have some intersectional forces that are playing differently in those spaces, in cultural terms. I think that maybe you also could connect the discussion with the higher education context. Funds, prestige, supremacy of the market knowledge. Sometimes in the classroom, I see students disconnected from the university. They don't want to study. They only want the title and go to the market and be a professional. It happens with everyone. So how maybe these experiences of Miguel are, despite the scenario that is happening everywhere, he recognizes it and see himself more pressured and silenced than the others. Another thing that I think could have emerged is the idea of Eurocentrism and racism, in which the knowledge belongingness is not connected to Miguel. And it's not connected to Miguel because the knowledge belongs to the white male, and it is a process of colonialism and Eurocentrism that happens with everyone that is not a man in a suit and a tie, or someone that could be in a suit and a tie in the market, delivering superior knowledge that is good for the students. I think it could be problematized also because it is a macro dimension that Miguel is facing, and he puts in, he's silencing himself. He silences himself, putting Eurocentrism inside of him. The knowledge does not belong to me. I'm not allowed to be part of the knowledge building and construction and delivery. I think other part that could be discussed in longitudinal terms is how Miguel's expectations in the career, how he sees a classroom, how he sees the career of other professors. I think that it could be a good connection if you would like to submit to an accounting education journal to connect with the context of higher education in Brazil, neoliberalization, and value of the knowledge that we are producing, the scientific knowledge we're producing, but also to talk about this how the career is being challenged, the difficulties we are facing in terms of stage and support that we need in the beginning of the career, that is documented in a paper from Gilberto Miranda at RCF in 2017. How we are having reality shocks in our careers. It may be also be Miguel's case, and we could connect in the memories. And also, I would like to know a little bit more what kind of preparation Miguel had in terms of preparedness to be in the classroom. Did Miguel took courses on accounting education literature, teaching methodologies? Did he participate in any internship program as how they say estágio docente? Did he have any mentorship? Things that you could add for us to know a little bit more about the scenario of preparedness for him to be there, in terms of how the field can contribute to be inclusive without exposing individuals in this the way we did in the past. So my final remarks that intersectionality and sexuality emerges strongly in the paper is quite good, this idea. And this connection with macro situations, connecting micro experiences with macro situations is a sum up to the literature. And I think it is an insightful paper. You have my full support to the project. If you need to discuss any ideas, I'm open to it. And I hope my modest contributions helps you to spread the paper and as a performative project and also to submit to a journal. Okay, thank you, Tassiane. Thank you, Iago. I hope you like it.
Thank you, Professora Fernanda, for comments.
Okay, I talked a lot. That's why they say the debate. I have a longer period to talk, more than you guys. What I think at the beginning, I thought it was an absurd, but it is not. A paper with such deep discussions, we really need sometimes additional time to discuss. I should open the chat here. I should open the chat. Does anyone in the room would like to make any questions? It can be in Portuguese if you want. Okay. Let's go, Mariana.
Tassiane, Mariana here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So, how are you in a new country?
Hi, Mariana. I'm good, and you? I'm adapting here. So yeah, but I'm good.
I just want to say that your paper has made me cry right now, right here at FEA, while I was reading your presentation. It's very touching. It's a very touching relief that you have from Miguel. And I just want to congratulate you guys for your results, your work. I believe this kind of paper are necessary in the academia. It must be encouraged. And I believe you face some prejudice when you bring this issue to highlight to the discussion in this kind of conferences. So I encourage you to keep it going into this kind of research.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. It's a very touching paper, as you said. Yes, very touching paper. Okay, thank you, Mariana. Alessandro commented here on the chat. Excellent presentation. Thanks for the knowledge shared. The topic is very important and needs to be discussed in larger dimension. Okay, thank you, Alessandro. Anyone else in the room would like to make any comments and suggestions to Iago and Tassiane? Okay. I think we still have 10 more minutes. So would you like to add something? Yes, you can speak Portuguese.
Thank you.
Just só minuto. Does anyone in the chat room, in the virtual room, would like me to translate what Iago is saying, or should we can go on with Portuguese only? I don't think we have someone from the names here. Okay, speak Portuguese. If anyone needs, I will translate to English.
Thank you, professor. Antes de mais nada, agradecer a parceria da Tassi e do professor Nick por essa iniciativa. E em relação ao comentário da Mariana, e até foi uma questão que a professora levantou, desse longo processo de construção é justamente em relação ao fato da gente ter esse processo de autobiografia, né? E ainda mais trazer isso para o coletivo. É muito delicado o processo, porque demandou muitos encontros e um espaço de tempo muito grande para a gente sair das ideias que foram discutidas e voltar para a superfície de novo, para daí entender o processo de novo. E essa exigência da gente se afastar da memória, né? Então, é uma coisa que eu e a Tassi e o professor Nick, a gente sempre comenta da necessidade da gente construir a memória coletiva e se afastar dela de novo, né? Justamente porque a CPA tem muitas discussões, né? Do impacto quando a gente vai tratar de nós, né? O nosso eu dentro da pesquisa. Então, foi um processo que a gente vem aí desde 2019 trabalhando, então também tem essa particularidade.
Muito interessante. E nesse processo, aí eu vou fazer uma pergunta, assim, Tassiano também pode responder, mas direto ao Iago, assim, nesse processo coletivo de acessar e reacessar, desconstruir e reconstruir a memória, nessa reconstrução da memória, você percebe que ela foi ressignificada?
Sim.
Como performativamente essa ressignificação te ajuda, Miguel, a se recolocar no mundo e vencer o silenciamento?
É uma coisa que a gente sempre comenta nas nossas reuniões, até quando a professora colocou a ideia da gente trazer esse espaço de tempo, que ainda acaba sendo um espaço de reflexão, né? A reunião é só o encontro ali, o efeito disso é depois, tem uma ressignificação, porque você acaba vendo a memória nunca é a mesma, né? A gente traz Butler para isso, então tem uma ressignificação.
E aí eu vou fazer uma pergunta que eu acho que pode ser uma contribuição do paper. Como, então, esse processo, será que esse processo que vocês realizaram não é uma maneira de reinserir as experiências de Miguel no espaço, na cena de ação, né? Na cena, novamente, e ele ressignificar, se reinserindo e se falando? Ou seja, a oportunidade dele se reinserir no espaço de fala, falando da experiência ressignificada.
Na verdade, deixa eu aproveitar e fazer um comentário.
Fala, Tassi.
Esse projeto é assim, antigo e já é bem longo. A gente teve alguns papers iniciais que a gente abriu mão, porque a gente foi aprofundando mais, mas uma das versões que a gente até apresentou no QRCA tinha essa discussão da performatividade, do como o processo mudou a forma do Iago ver os problemas, as questões, e como isso gerou uma ação de fato política e acabou assim contribuindo até pela participação dele no que hoje a gente conhece como o Colide, né? Então o Iago é uma figura bem ativa lá, e ele com certeza ele pode ser melhor, né? Mas a gente escreveu inclusive isso sobre esse processo, né? De como inclusive a participação do professor Nick dentro do contexto brasileiro, né? Que foi acho que um start também importante para essas pesquisas queer aqui no Brasil. Então, essa parceria que a gente fez em 2019 foi no ano que ele veio para o Brasil, e a gente começou essa discussão, e eu acho que gerou um movimento na academia brasileira, a gente consegue perceber isso bem claro. Então, assim, mas a própria Butler fala, né, que essa alteração, ela é em nível individual, mas coletivo também, né, porque a ação política, ela acontece nesse nível coletivo, né, então acho que isso é uma coisa que a gente viu, mas a gente acabou não focando. A gente hoje tem 3 papers aí numa versão mais final, e a gente acabou não focando muito mais nessas questões, mas acho que a gente reconhece isso.
Eu acho que essa é uma contribuição metodológica do paper, ou seja, a metodologia ela é uma reinserção do ser no espaço e uma forma dele de se dessilenciar por si só, né? Então, ou seja, é a pesquisa que transforma os sujeitos, né? Eu acho que essa é uma contribuição muito relevante do estudo, ou seja, eu faço, eu entendo, eu exponho a situação para a academia, para que a gente possa melhorar as nossas práticas de inclusão, sem ser tokenista, né? E, ao mesmo tempo, propiciar o entendimento de que a pesquisa propicia reinserção na cena para os pesquisadores. E eles podem ter voz a partir da construção de uma pesquisa de um paper, né? Essas vozes serão recolocadas na cena com o devido reconhecimento, que é a publicação. E a gente recoloca, né? É bem interessante, ou seja, os estudantes me silenciam, os meus colegas me silenciam, mas a minha capacidade de escrever e de colocar um paper que vai para uma conferência ou que vai para um periódico me autoriza a ter voz e me reinsere na cena, né? Isso é um processo de reinserção.
A professora comentou bastante sobre a questão metodológica da biografia coletiva, e até eu gostaria de fazer um comentário com relação a essas contribuições que... Primeiro você perguntou assim, né, por que a biografia coletiva e não uma autoetnografia ou uma narrativa, que foi o projeto inicial. A gente tinha uma ideia de fazer uma autoetnografia. Só que a discussão filosófica por trás do deconstrutivismo, né, que é o que traz essa metodologia da biografia coletiva, tá tudo isso que você colocou. Então, ao sujeito discutir e desconstruir esses eventos passados com outras pessoas, ele começa a ressignificar esse processo. Então, isso é um dos efeitos dessa metodologia. O outro é que também essa filosofia pós-estruturalista considera que a gente não consegue relembrar o fato exatamente como ele foi. Então, a gente vai recontar uma história. O Iago poderia escrever uma história, uma biografia, uma autobiografia. Ele reescreveria uma história como hoje ele vê isso. Ao fazer esse processo de desconstrução, não que a gente vai chegar numa verdade, né? Porque não existe essa ideia de verdade, mas a gente vai ressignificar esse processo e refletir de uma forma muito mais profunda nos eventos que aconteceram. Então, eu acho que essa foi a decisão pela essa metodologia da biografia coletiva, em detrimento das outras.
Muito bom. Perfeito. Perfeito. É isso aí, Tassiane. Vocês estão no caminho certo. E é aquilo, né? O processo é que guia a construção e as entregas e até onde ele vai parar, né? Qual é a hora de... Será que vai parar? Será que para no paper publicado? Ou é um processo que talvez se abra e incorpore outras pessoas nessa própria cena de ação, né, da pesquisa? Então, assim, parabéns a vocês pelo trabalho construído, assim. E é claro, né, que a gente, obviamente, o paper, quando submetido a um periódico, ele vai parar na mão de outro avaliador e ele vai pedir outros elementos que vão reinserir vocês na reflexão sobre vocês mesmos, né, sobre as memórias de Miguel e as situações experienciadas, né? Então, e ao mesmo tempo, sem entender ou entendendo, sim ou não sei, se aqueles comentários daquele revisor são um ataque pessoal ou uma agressão violenta ao silenciamento que ocorre entre revisores, blind review e processos de revistas, né? Então, é muito rico isso, né? A gente parar para pensar que esse processo é um processo violento de silenciamento em diferentes etapas, que começa na sala de aula, se formando o professor, na sala de aula com os estudantes, no processo de peer review, mas, ao mesmo tempo, você tentando construir uma outra cena de reinserção, né? Então, eu acho que relatar essa dinâmica, nem que seja numa nota de rodapé na conclusão do artigo, na sua última versão, mostra uma riqueza enorme de um processo, né? Fala, Alain. Temos uma pergunta aqui do Alain.
Tem uma dúvida, na verdade, parabéns, Iago, e está sendo pelo trabalho. Eu fiquei pensando aqui agora sobre a não memória. Se as lacunas na memória, ou essas ausências na memória, elas foram refletidas pelos autores. Se elas apareceram, se vocês pensaram nos impactos, porque eu penso que é uma experiência traumática para o Miguel, e o próprio processo de construção dessa memória pode ter lacunas, né? E o subjetivo dele vai... Como é que isso é discutido entre os autores? Como é que vocês lidam com a não memória, né? Ou as lacunas na memória?
Tá. Iago, quer falar?
Posso comentar e você complementa, pode ser?
Tá bom, pode.
Essa não memória, Alan, basicamente como que a gente tem lidado, né? É uma questão de limite, né? Então teve uma primeira versão, uma primeira reunião, a apresentação da memória, a discussão para chegar nesse entendimento coletivo. Aí, depois disso, tem mais algumas explorações com um pouco de exigência maior de detalhes, para explorar aquela memória num aspecto mais descritivo. E eu avalio que são limites do subconsciente, assim, que vai depender muito do dia que a reunião acontece, depende muito do contexto, do tempo, porque por ser uma pesquisa que você se vê nela, depende muito do dia, assim, os limites da construção da memória, porque ela já não é mais a mesma, né? Então, por exemplo, toda a expectativa que o sujeito vai viver para construir aquela memória, a primeira versão de 2019 não é a primeira versão, não é a próxima versão revisada de 2021, porque de lá para cá eu tive um encontro com o outro, né? Eu tive movimentos coletivos, eu tive abertura de espaço para discussão da temática, que vão permitindo você criar um ambiente de segurança, de conforto, e quando eu volto para a memória, quando você volta para a memória, você já tem um outro significado, porque você já teve uma outra experiência em relação às coisas.
E muitas vezes o subconsciente se sente mais seguro para recuperar detalhes que você não recuperou naquele primeiro momento.
Ou tem situações que você talvez não tenha tomado consciência na época, mas é que você experiencia outras coisas e aí não resgata, né? Eu vejo isso como uma contribuição também, né?
Exato, exato.
Discutir essas lacunas, assim. Onde é que vocês conseguiram chegar, onde vocês não conseguiram
Qual que é
chegar,
o limite, né?
E como esses limites ainda perpetuam o sujeito que está revivendo na sua memória, né?
Exato.
Eu acho que esse que vocês estão falando
O evento se perpetua, né? Na memória.
Diga, Tassiane.
Não, essa questão que vocês estão colocando da lacuna assim, é engraçado que está bem alinhado com a discussão ontológica mesmo da própria Butler e da metodologia, porque assim, a profundidade dos trabalhos da Butler é tão grande que a gente não consegue trazer todos os conceitos que ela trabalha, mas um dos conceitos é essa questão do subconsciente, né? Ela considera, assim como outros pós-estruturalistas, o efeito do subconsciente que a gente tem, do inconsciente, e dentro desse processo, é por isso que a gente sabe que a gente não vai conseguir recuperar todas as memórias, ou exatamente como ela foi, né? E como o Iago falou, a cada nova etapa, você pode conseguir recuperar outras coisas, mas a gente não sabe se realmente foi daquele jeito que aconteceu. Isso pode ser como o Iago hoje relembra o fato, né? Então, não é de fato, uma lembrança do que aconteceu, mas é uma reconstrução dessas memórias que vão acontecendo em diferentes momentos do tempo, justamente, né, para a gente ter esse momento de maturação. Então, essas reuniões espaçadas, o Iago pode ser melhor. Eu senti, pelo menos do Iago, que tem um custo ali forte para relembrar essas memórias, né, para trazer toda essa discussão. Então, esse espaçamento é importante até para esse processo que ele tem que fazer com ele mesmo, né?
Eu com isso, assim, eu vejo que o projeto ele tem dois subprodutos, né? Um é estressar os eventos e as conexões desses eventos com o contexto em que Miguel se insere e como esses silenciamentos perversos, né? Eles ocorrem do indivíduo contra si mesmo, porque ele se depara com uma estrutura social que ele não consegue desmontar e ele se culpa. Então, a culpa é minha. Se eu não consigo desmontar, a culpa é minha. Então, ele é um paper que traz um empírico importante para problematizar essa microdinâmica individual de sofrimento e, ao mesmo tempo, vocês poderiam fazer um outro paper sobre a reconstrução do self, do silenciado, oprimido num processo, num determinado contexto, e como a própria pesquisa performativa engajada transforma esse ser e você recupera, e você constrói, você desconstrói, reconstrói e recupera aspectos dessa memória para a reinserção dos sujeitos, né? Então, assim, eu vejo dois possíveis caminhos bem interessantes para o trabalho e agradeço a vocês por essa oportunidade de pensar sobre isso, né? De pensar sobre esse processo que me parece muito bonito, né? Muito bonito. Então, assim, obrigada a vocês pelo trabalho. A gente está chegando aí no final do nosso horário da sessão. Eu abro a Iago e Tassiane para as últimas palavras. Não sei se mais algum colega quer fazer mais algum comentário, mas A gente tem, eu acho que mais uns 2 minutinhos para encerrar.
Bom, eu queria agradecer a professora Fernanda pelos comentários, eu anotei aqui tudo e tem trabalho com 5 artigos aqui, tantas considerações importantes, e que dá para trabalhar bastante coisa, mas principalmente esses 2 comentários finais que você colocou no subproduto, acho que são pontos de atenção, mas outras coisas. E agradecer também todo mundo que participou, que escutou, né, e que prestigiou esse trabalho, né, que a gente tem realizado, que ainda está em construção.
Maravilha, só agradecer os comentários, o cuidado que a professora teve com o nosso trabalho, atenção, agradecer a Tassi pela parceria, os comentários também do pessoal, e vamos ver onde que vai ser o nosso limite, né?
É isso, né? E de certo, o artigo o projeto em si já alcançou o seu principal objetivo, que foi a reconstrução da memória para os sujeitos, né? Esse é o primeiro objetivo, né? O principal objetivo já está promovendo uma reconstrução dos sentidos e reinserções. Então, o que vocês estão conseguindo agora, né, são outros subprodutos desse projeto. Então, parabéns, obrigada por
Vamos fazer uma foto?
Vamos fazer uma foto. Quer projetar o primeiro slide, Tassi?
Sim,
não,
sim.
se projetar o slide, você não aparece. Vem para cá, vamos tirar a foto com Tassi projetada na tela.
Projeto ou não? Não, né?
Fica assim aqui.
Você fica muito pequena.
Se a gente... Peraí, viu? Quase que eu fechei a reunião. Deixa eu fechar o chat, que aí você fica aqui grande. Vem. Tirar a cadeira da cena de ação.
Da cena de ação. Primeiro encontro.
A gente pode tirar a máscara para tirar foto, né? A organizadora nem está aqui, então a gente esconde.
Cadê o máscara?
Não, mais pertinho. Agora só isso aí, tá?
Muito bom, muito bom.
Obrigado.
Obrigada, tchau. Um beijo, Iago, professora Mariana também. Até mais.
Obrigada a todos que estiveram aqui. O pessoal do chat também ficou quietinho. O pessoal do chat ficou quietinho, ninguém perguntou nada.
É uma pesquisa profunda para fazer perguntas.
Pois é, não, é difícil, gente. Obrigada mesmo.
Obrigadão, Bruno.
Eu li, pensei, discuti, escrevi, voltei, aí... Difícil, né? Mas vamos lá. Boa noite a todos que estão na sala, todos que estão na sala virtual. Obrigada por estarem aqui. Recomendo a leitura do artigo. Obrigada, Alessandro. Valeu. Abriu aí a câmera para falar com a gente. Deixa eu ver quem mais está aqui. Neiva, Jaiane, Vitória, Fabrício. Fabrício mandou um oi aí. Valeu, Fabrício. Dione, Alexandre, Marielza. Beijo a todos. Boa noite. Sucesso para todo mundo.
Tinha que ser.
Boa noite, gente. Valeu. Pode encerrar aqui?
Pode, sim.
Então, vamos.